everybody and welcome to my video Getting Tidier. So today I decided to do spring cleans. There's lots of different things that I've done and try to do it in as short amount of time as possible. Getting ready to go away, and I don't want to come back to a house which is really untidy with loads of things sitting around. So I've worked with washing, getting stuff dried, cleaning, clearing the stairs, and that's what I started on first thing. So the stairs weren't really that bad compared to how they are sometimes, but I just wanted to get them as clear as possible, and I also wanted to put a washing load on at the same time. And then see that little windowsill on the right there? I'm finding that's got more and more items being added, and I noticed that there's a lot of dust at the back. So I wanted to clear that up, clean it all and get rid of it all. So I needed to put a wash load on, so I took all the white load out, which is ready to get dry. Now, some of you will sympathise with this. A couple of days ago I said, does anybody have anything that they want washed for holiday? Then I said it again yesterday, then I said it again this morning. There were no final calls for items that needed to be washed for holiday. So I did the last load of darks so I could get everything dry and everything ready. And then just when I finished the washing up, I looked on the floor and there were some chinos that had been thrown on the floor. They missed the washing, but me being me, I'll probably find some other dark things around the house, maybe wash some cushion covers or something, so it's not such a waste of water. And I'll wash the trousers for him, so he's got them for holiday. They are ones he likes. Now this is my load of washing the other day. Unfortunately, it's not as dry as I would have liked. You can see in the skies it started spitting. I do laugh at all the different words we have in England for rain. I'm not sure whether other people use that expression, spitting. That just means it's real light rain. Me and my daughter a while ago were counting all the different words like for rain. So you can, it's raining cats and dogs, it's spitting, it's pelting down. There's loads. We've got loads and loads of expressions for rain. And the funny thing is, we're such a small country, but if you go into different parts of the country, all the rain is very different. So I decided to bring the items in and just finish them off on the radiators, because the radiators came on quite high temperature today. So I thought they're about to go off, but I thought I'm going to leave them on for a little bit longer. So I put the heating back on so it didn't go off. And then I can just get the last few bits dry. Can you see my plant on the left? The mealybug that it's got. I'm so upset about this. They're absolutely beautiful plants. I tell the story about mealybug in one of my other videos, so I'm not going to go through it today. But it's really frustrating, and that's been sitting by itself and still the mealybug thrives. It's infuriating, really. So I got some items by the doorway that are going to charity shops, so that's what I was then sorting out. And that bag, there was the free bag that my husband got from that conference, and I'd planned to give it away. And then when I lifted it up, I could actually see why he wanted it. And I thought, actually, this is probably a really handy backpack for holiday. So I decided to keep it and put it in the bag. It's got some nice little sections and it's quite well made. That's my little backpack on the floor there. So then I decided to just clear this little windowsill and give it a good clean. Doesn't look dirty at a glance, but it really is. When I took the things out, and I have shown you how bad it is. Oh dear, how awful. And then can you see the table below? I'm going to sell that, but that's still covered with various things that I need to do stuff with. So I started off by taking all the items off, and I like to think about my layers of the onion, or my layers of cleaning, and my layers of decluttering, because I've put back a flower pot which is filled with bits and pieces, and there's no plant in it, plant pot. So you can see there with some of the dust and muck on the windowsill. So I clean all that down and wipe that all up. I'm mostly using vinegar. And then someone the other day said to me about using white vinegar for their glass windows. Now I don't know if you can see, but the glass, this is an original window for the house, which is why we haven't replaced it, because we didn't feel like we would benefit really from having that as double glazed. I like the window and it's in keeping character of the house. But the tiny little shapes does make it quite difficult to clean. So what I decided to do was pour vinegar on it from the top. And it went all the way down. As I did, I went all over it. And yeah, it really cleaned it up, came up really nice. And then I got a step up to do the top part of it, so I could then do all of it. But in the tiny little indents of the glass, it really is a pretty picture, pretty pattern. But in the indents, it really does get quite grubby and mucky. I should have done one half really to see whether I could notice it or not from this angle. Maybe you can't. But I could have done one section, couldn't I? And then seeing whether the light shining through made it that much difference. So there were quite a few bits that I decided not to put back on that windowsill. But I have still got more to do. So it's not finished. But like if I concentrate and focus and think about layers, then all will be good. And yeah, I'm sure you can see that my wall is a different colour. So we've had dreadful problems in this corner with damp from outside. So we had a drain that was leaking, which meant all the soil was really sodden, and that was damaging the bricks. There's no damp course because of the age of the house, and we had it sort of injected with a fluid when we bought the house. I wish we hadn't really. It was absolutely pointless. The problem with the house with damp when we first bought it was because the lady hadn't put the heating on. That was the problem. So yeah, the drains broke, and then all the soil was put right up against the house. That caused a further problem. But since the last treatment and the last, digging it all away from the house, drying it all out, we haven't had any problem. And we were supposed to get the paint from the end of the shed, which matches up with this. And I kept saying to my husband, if we get the paint out, the man who dealt with all the wall and treated it all the last time was going to paint it all the same colour, but obviously that man couldn't wait forever, so in the end he's just painted it magnolia, and the wall is not magnolia, you see, so that's why you can see it's a slightly different colour. But that's fine. All this hall does need to be redecorated fairly soon, and I don't mind, because it looks so much better than what it did before, because all the paint came off, and then it needed to have damp paint and all sorts. It was such a faff, it looked awful. At the moment, I'm happy with how it looks because it just looks so much better than what it was before. So I'm thankful, really, that it's sorted. So I did some more clearing up on the stairs, sorted out some bits and pieces, put some things back in their homes, and then I got my damp cloth and went all over the stairs just to remove all the dust from where the horizontal part of the stair meets the vertical part of the stair. The cloth that I'm using really isn't very good. It's one that I got free. It was made like into a rabbit face. Well, not free. I won it in a little sale. It's not really very good for the purpose that I was using it for. I'm probably going to use it a few more times and then put it in the bin because the cloth starts just falling to pieces as I'm trying to do it, which is not great. I looked at the things that were on the stairs and that were left on the stairs. I thought, where am I going to put them? And I thought, well, they don't really live upstairs. They don't really live downstairs. What should I do with them? So I've ended up putting them on the dining room table so I can decide where I actually need to put them. It's always hard when you have things like that, isn't it? I mean, some of the things probably, I guess, actually just need to be filed away and just put into storage and then shredded when they're over a certain age. And then once I've done all the stairs, I then move on to the kitchen. But before we talk about that, I'm going to go through a few of my subscribers' comments. So someone asked me, in my kitchen, what is it that I keep to the right of the oven, the stove? So Laura asked that question. You could probably notice, and you'll see in the video in a minute, I've just got it's a plastic box, but it's made to look like rattan, and I use it for all the recycling items. And the idea is that when it's full, my husband then takes it out to the recycling bin. Sometimes it does get a bit overflowing, but I'd say for the last sort of 6 months, he's been really good at making sure that it's all cleared, ready for when the bins are collected. So the recycling bin was taken today, and it's all completely empty. And Brooke Howell was asking what was the seafood that made my daughter unwell, the vinegar. So when I explained about that story, so the vinegar was on cockles. Now I don't think you have cockles in America, Certainly not. When I was in America yesterday, so we were sort of Philadelphia, New York area. My family and cousins live not far from Philadelphia, and they'd not heard of cockles. They said, "Do you mean shrimps?" No, shrimps and prawns. Shrimps are completely different to cockles. If you look up online, you'll see them. We're about 40-50 miles from a really good place on the Norfolk coast where you can go cockling. And you dig into the sand with your hands, and you pull out the shells and you collect them all, and then you can clean them. Sometimes people feed them with flour. Obviously we wouldn't do that because of my daughter's allergies, but we have in the past just used a little bit of her flour, and they all open up and you get all the sand out of them, and then you boil them. My daughter loves them. Last time we probably ended up with too many. We ended up with so many, I felt like, well, we were having cockles for a long time. A few years ago, very, very sadly, some people got killed with the tides, because you have to watch the tides, and when the water goes out, you have to you go in and you can get them, and the water comes back. And if you don't watch it, you can get stranded. And it's obviously very dangerous. And the funny thing is, both me and my husband can remember being taken as children. And my mum was, I think, responsible for checking the tides. And she said, right, it's time to come back in. And as we came back in, the water started coming in. And it's that sort of moment where you can tell, you know how your parents always protect you? Well, they should protect you. But I could tell that my dad was getting a little bit worried. And I was right up on his shoulders, him keeping me away from the waves. That must have been quite scary, really. And the same thing happened with my husband. He remembers the same story. Carolyn Quinn was saying macrame rather than macrame. So we call it macrame here, and in America you call it macrame. And the funny thing was, I said to my daughter, how do you think they say macrame in America? And she went, macrame. And I think, how does she know that? Because she watches YouTubers, but none of her YouTubers are American. So I'm not quite sure how she knows that. Talking about prices, you know, yesterday I moaned about my 2 bottles of water and my Orangina for £10. Karen was saying that she took her son to hospital. He really wanted something to eat. He was hungry. So she popped to the shop at the hospital, and you know that cheap white bread? Well, it should be cheap. That cheap white bread, a cheese sandwich, cost £5. A cup of coffee was more than £4. A can of Coke was £3, and a packet of crisps for £2. So if they both had had lunch, that would have been £20. And you think that's not even good quality, that bread? I think that's an absolute disgrace. Laura said, thank you for sharing the swans. She said it's a safer way of enjoying them, as you never quite know how strong they are. No, I agree. Judith talked about vinegar for cleaning, and she uses it on the rinse cycle for towels. I would really like to know more about that, Judith. I'm not quite sure how that would work. So you put that in the washing machine, do you? Sorry if I'm being a bit silly. I'm not quite sure how you'd use it. But she also uses it. Like on shower screen. A bit Dawn dish soap on the shower, but she uses vinegar as well. I'm really interested in that. I think this vinegar trick is fantastic. All these years I've been buying these various sprays that either don't work, they cause you to wheeze, or they're too expensive. Also, she said that she'd like one of my washcloths or my macrame hangers. Macrame. I might start saying macrame now. And finally, Mox Girlion 714, she said, please enjoy your holiday and the time with your family, because you blink and they grow up, and her eldest son has joined the Royal Engineers. You must be so proud, but you must really miss him. I can understand how you must miss your child when they're away. She's counting down the days until he's home. And she said that feels like just yesterday that she was pushing him round in the pram. We've talked about that before, haven't we? About how quickly they grow up. I think time is a funny thing though, because sometimes people say, oh, time's gone so quick, you know, it's Easter and then it'll be summer and then it'll be Christmas. But if we think, how long ago does Christmas feel? Christmas feels like it was a year ago. And it's the same as, yes, my daughter's 11, and in a way that time has gone quickly. Certainly junior school went quickly. But then if I think about, oh, her first day at junior school, that feels like 10 years ago. Or taking her into nursery, goodness me, that feels like 15 years ago. So I do think time is a very, very funny thing. It's all about what you're comparing it to, I think. It's like I feel like I've lived in this house for decades. You know, for the first time, you know, the year that we bought it feels like so long ago. So yeah, I'm back in the kitchen. I'm sorry, it's not a very good angle. I'm still using my macrame hanger and plastic pot in order to do all my videos, which sometimes I can get a good angle, sometimes I can't. And sometimes the macrame hanger starts floating about in the air, which is why sometimes the video moves. So in time, I will get a better stand for myself. Then it'll be easier when I do the junk drawer, which don't forget, I'm going to be sorting out the kitchen junk drawer when I get to 2,000 followers. I've got a bit of time to build myself up with that, yeah? So I've got another 70 followers to get to before I get to 2,000. So it's going to take a while to sort all that out, but I've got a bit of time to prepare myself. And then you'll see that I change the angle in a minute of the kitchen, so you can see the work from the other side and the washing up that I was doing and sorting out. You can see that I've got a load going in the washing machine. Going to get all of that dry today, and that'll either go on holiday with us or it'll be ready to be put away. So my dad's coming around in a bit. He comes around weekly. I see my mum weekly and I see my dad weekly at a minimum. Sometimes I see my mum more frequently than that because she lives nearby. It's a bit of a shame really, because it's the school holidays and my mum is keen to like go out for the day or go out for the afternoon, so we do something, kind of make memories, and my daughter likes going out and about with her. We used to do the same with my dad. We used to go out for the day, but his partner really doesn't like him going out. I think it's partly because she feels like she needs to come everywhere that we go, and whilst I understand that in a way, that is my dad, that is my daughter's granddad, and I'm only asking for like, you know, 3 or 4 hours of his time, and he spends a lot of time with her grandchildren and her children. But like today, he's not going to get round till 2:30 and 3 o'clock. And I said, oh, are you going to be coming around? What sort of time do you think you'll get here today? And he said, oh, I've gone on a big walk with the dog. And I think, you know what I think of dogs. I like dogs and they're part of the family. But he's not going to be able to see his granddaughter tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day, all the days after that, because we're not going to be in England. So he had the choice between going on a long walk with the dog where he got soaking wet, or spending time with his granddaughter. Anyway, I'll be careful not to start going on. I just think that's a bit of a shame. And I can't, you know, you can't put the blame at his partner's door, because this is about him saying, no, this is what I'm doing. I am going to see my only granddaughter today because she's on holiday. Just one of those things, isn't it? I thought I'd go all over the oven, so I tidied that up. My husband is cooking later this afternoon. I'm doing a crumble and cook the fruit, so hopefully there won't be splodges of fruit on the oven now I've cleaned it just before we go away. That comes up really lovely with the vinegar. I really like this oven. It's good quality and it always comes up with a really nice sheen. I could do with some tips as to what to clean the top of the stove with. You see the black that I just put on the top of the oven? See the black sections? What would you clean those with? Because I tried various things, and because it just gets greasy and because of how it's cooked, fairy liquid doesn't really work. I feel like they need to be soaked in something. So all ideas and thoughts, very welcome. I also think I'm going to stop hanging towels and so on the front of the oven, because it makes them look untidy. I need to just leave them on the radiator, which is just underneath where the camera's sitting. So I do some pictures at the end which shows before and after of the kitchen, how it was before and how it was after, which I hope you'll like seeing. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your encouragement. I very, very much appreciate it. And I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next video.